Muy buenas noches, everybody. This is Max T. And April G. wrote me today and said, how about some tips for people who find the Spanish letter R challenging? And so I'm going to show you 3 things today. Let me type them in here so you can follow along with me. First of all, I'm going to trick you into saying this letter R in Spanish. We do not call this a letter R in Spanish. We call it an ere, or we call it an R. And when we do, we spell it like this. The letter is ere or R. Now, some people say, no, ere is, well, actually they would say the letter is R. And so, as I will tell you every once in a while, don't worry when a native speaker from whatever country tells you, hey, this is the way to do it, because very often there are at least 2 or 3 or 4 ways to do it, at least. Now, in this case, there are many ways to pronounce this, but the 2 things I'm telling you about right now that I just want to show you is that this letter, the letter that looks like our R, looks like, we call this in Spanish, we call it ere, or, and many people will say, no, you can't call it that, you have to call it this, R. Why is that important? Well, the very fact that that letter is pronounced 2 different ways as a letter of the alphabet brings out the most difficult sound in Spanish, that double R. Now, I said I was going to trick you. Here's what I'm going to do. Allow me to erase this now, because I really don't want it in our way here. I am going to ask you today to say English words, and then, what do we call these other words? They're just, I'll just say pretend, or non-words is what we call them. Non-words, and then I'll be asking you to say Spanish words. Now here you got to promise me something. You got to put your hand over your heart and promise me right now. Got it there? Put your mano over your corazón. Promise me you're not going to try to figure it out each time. Oh, I think he's saying a non-word, or oh, I think he's saying a Spanish or an English. If you just follow me and not worry about it, I can help you pronounce this letter like a pro. There's only been one person ever in my entire long career who didn't do it, and it was a stubborn girl in high school. And there's no reason that people can't master this sound, because, you know why? Because millions of people learn the sound, let's just say every year. In other words, you think of all the millions of people there are in this world who grew up in Spanish-speaking homes. They don't know how to say that letter that looks like an R, but they learn it, and so can you. All right. Now, let's go up here, and I'm going to erase these. I hope you put your mano over your corazón and promised that you will not try to outguess me. All right, so look at the picture, and you see the position of the letter, well, let's say of the sounds in English, like Eddie, the name Eddie. So what I want you to do now is just say this after me. Eddie. Now, Ed. Ed. Eddie. When we say Eddie, it becomes more like the name Betty. Eddie, Betty. You know, they're almost exact, and maybe the way you say them, they are exact. If you have a mirror, or if you don't, actually, I wish you you need to go get a mirror, or else just trust me. In the mirror, you will see this picture I have in front of you, which I drew for specifically the position of the edge of your tongue when that double D or that double T in these 2 words here, or in bitter and butter, same thing. That tongue will fly up there for an instant. Now, when you say Ed, your tongue will stay there. It's probably a really good idea that you look at this picture closely or look in a mirror. It's going to be the same thing. And you see, this is what we're going to aim for. When we get done with this and throughout this lesson, then we're going to have that very position that you're seeing right there. But it's going to just be instantaneous. Just a flick or a trill. So we start out by you admitting to me. Admit it. You can't deny it. You can say Eddie, and you can say Betty, and bitter and butter, and you know you can. So we've already established that. And that means your goose is cooked, because now I can get you to say this letter that looks like an R right here, but it's not. It's an R or R. Now those are two different sounds, R and R. The most difficult one is the double R or R. Now, we are in a good position to get going on here, so I can trick you into saying this right. Some of you won't have any problem, and some of you will, for who knows what reason. A lot of times it's just that you've got yourself psyched out. I know, because remember, I've taught thousands of people of all ages, and I have taught them up front or on television, live television, where we could see each other. And of course, nowadays over the internet. Now, I want you to say, let's go to, I saw somebody do it like this one time. It was a great learning experience for me years and years ago when I was a teenager. Look at this word, pot of tea. Pot of tea. Now I want you to say this with me. Would you go get me a pot of tea? A pot of tea, please. A pot of tea. Potta. Potta. All right, so we can find that r in all kinds of places. A single T. A pot of tea. P-O-T. Potta. Same sound in butter, bitter, Betty, Eddie. Now we're going to modify that sound. So now I want you to just say some things after me, and I'm not going to tell you whether it's an English or a non-word or a Spanish word. Just say them after me. Para. Ara. Ara. Oro. Oro. Ira. That's a little harder one. Pita, like pita bread. Pita. Pita. Para. 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 It's true. That is an English word. I mean a Spanish word. That word is para. Notice how it's similar to para ti. But in Spanish we don't say p, we say pa. And that would be like the last letter of pop. So let's just take a second here, because this will trip a lot of people up. It'll absorb all of their concentration if I don't deal with this. Take the word pop. The first P we do breathe through in English. P. P. But the second one we stop it dead in its tracks. So listen. Pa. Pa. Now listen to the last. Up. Up. I'll do the first one again, and then the second one. Pa. Up. Pop. Those are two different P's. Pop. All right, now we breathe through the first, we don't breathe through the last. And so we can say this word para now, thinking of it in terms of it begins with the P, the first P in the word pop above it. Now we're going to say a Spanish word. It starts with the sound of the last P in pop. So this one we breathe through, pop, right? But here we don't breathe through it. Pop. It just stops. This is the sound we want for the next word. So listen. Para. Para. Now, a lot of people have just a horrible time. I was doing this exercise with a man who wanted me to help him recently because he was headed to South America. But I didn't have enough time to work with him because he was just, he had himself psyched out. He was trying to guess what I was doing. You see, he was trying to analyze me. And he said, just let me do this because it'll just save people a lot more time if they just listen to me. It just saves them a whole lot of time. So we don't want the pa, but that's what Americans do all the time. Pa. But they forget that they've got this sound too in our English language. And that's the one we always want for Spanish with that letter. So we're going to go to this letter now. Para. Not para. Para. All right, now let's go here. And let's say potter. We stopped by and saw the potter making some pottery. All right, after me. Potter. Potter. All right, now we're going to use the last P in pop. Potter. Potter. Now, come on now. Make sure you're being a good sport and not letting yourself get confused here. We're using the last English sound in this English letter. Pop. That's the one we want. We don't breathe through it. So back down to the word potter. But we're going to do it with that last P in pop. We're going to say the word potter. So, potter, 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 potter. Now that's an English word, potter. Now, listen to this. Para, para. I'm not saying potter. Just say what you hear me saying. Para, para, para. All right, that was a non-word. Now we'll come back to the Spanish word. Para. Para. The last P in pop, the one we don't breathe through. Para. Para. Now, no way should you be saying para now. No way. Para. Para. Because up here you don't say, when you see the word potter and you come across this trilling sound, you don't say para, power. Or you know some guy maybe named, I don't know, I'll just make up a name, Mr. Potter. You don't say Mr. Power. You don't get tripped up all of a sudden. Because in English this is normal that we trill that. Potter. But now we're not saying we're saying para. Para. So, we have potter, pata, and para. We have a nonsense, or we have a non-word in here that I was saying. And we might say we pronounce it like this, pata. You know that's not a word. But see, potter in front of it is, and para after it is. So we have an English and a non-word and a Spanish word. Potter, para, and para. So just so I don't lose you here, this is the same as this So we're saying para, para. We cannot say ever in Spanish, we cannot say para, para. We cannot do that. It's para, para. All right, that's our first round with this, and I'll do some more after you give me some comments. Give me some specific comments. Tell me how it may have helped you. There's more to do in this. You know, this is a really big deal, getting this ere and this double ere. It's really, really important. One time I was in Mexico City talking to some people. They asked me to speak at a church about something. I mean, it was just, they didn't even tell me what. They just said, come on up and say something. So I did. I don't even know what I said. But afterwards, an engineer came up to me. He says, you know, Max, I think what makes somebody really sound like they know our language is when they can get these letters, ere, or the double ere, or erre, whatever you want to call it. I don't even remember what he called it, but this letter here, he said, when people can get that, he said, that makes it sound like they're really speaking Spanish. So, we'll come back at this very, very important couple of sounds here. Ere and erre, r and r. Let me know any of your comments from this, and give me permission to share them, or tell me not to share them. And then let me know if you want some more of this. Hasta luego.